2 hours we had to wait before they come in. He came in. They asked us to give them questions. Those who wanted to ask questions. And I think there were maybe like 10 people who volunteered to give questions in. All right. That thing ended like that. 2 hours later, the guy shows up. When he we're talking about interdenominational people, like when you go to pray. The pastor already started with a sermon and then started, trying to cleanse the spirits out there. And I was like, hey, Buana, there are different people here in the spaces. Okay. That being done, they have this idea, and I think, Ali, we've been in these meetings when we met the ambassador at one time here online, and they wanted to speak to, like, the president. They're saying, oh, we represent this particular group, we represent this particular. Now that you're going to talk about that representation, that when they're giving their speeches, it looks like they had their own agendas. Hata watu wengine hapo walikuwa wanaulizia kazi and that level. So
and this is the OneMic Show. Karibuni.
This is SAMBAZA from the SAMBAZA podcast, calling in from Dallas, Texas.
All right, SAMBAZA podcast, karibu sana. Tell us what went down in Dallas. Yeah, we just saw pictures on social media, but we saw flyers. But what happened in Texas? We know a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a couple of months ago, Matiang'i was there, and this past weekend, Riggy-G was in Dallas. So tell us what went down, SAMBAZA. Karibu sana.
So, first of all, for starters, as you know, Kenyan, we're always late. That's the first thing that annoyed a lot of people, but was not said. And again, I was trying to get a feel for what was happening before to what we're having at this time. Now, 2 hours we had to wait before they come in. He came in. They asked us to give them questions. Those who wanted to ask questions. And I think there were maybe like 10 people who volunteered to give questions in. All right. That thing ended like that. 2 hours later, the guy shows up. When he we're talking about interdenominational people, like when you go to pray. The pastor already started with a sermon and then started, trying to cleanse the spirits out there. And I was like, hey, Buana, there are different people here in the spaces. Okay. That being done, they have this idea, and I think, Ali, we've been in these meetings when we met the ambassador at one time here online, and they wanted to speak to, like, the president. They're saying, oh, we represent this particular group, we represent this particular group, and this particular group, and that. So that was the mode that they came in, and they had the speeches crafted that way, and their questions were crafted according to their, I'm a representative of somebody. Sasa kuna representative wa Masai, kuna representative wa kutoka Mulembe Nation, then kuna representative wa kutoka Kikuyu Nation, then kuna Kisii Nation. Then you ask the question, what about us who are from other places, Then we can have a Muhindi representation, another one from Northeastern, Garbatula, whatever, kutoka Lamu, and what have you, So you kind of have that idea of what are we doing here in terms of representation. Okay. Now that you're going to talk about that representation, that when they're giving their speeches, it looks like they had their own agendas. Hata watu wengine hapo walikuwa wanaulizia kazi and that level. So they say their questions. Gachagua comes to talk. Now, one thing I know, Val is going to be a star for a long time because Gachagua remembers her up till today, and always talks about talking about her. And I've seen him talk about her in other speeches. All right. Now, I'll go back a little bit. When they brought an MC, the MC kept on saying, hey, we're going to give you guys are ready for questions. You guys be ready for questions. And you were like, okay, we're going to be given enough time to ask the questions. Gachagua comes in and talks and talks and talks and talks. He says he's spiel na kila kitu. When he finishes, then he's like, oh, let me get 2-3 questions here. Now, 2-3 questions meant 2 guys asking the questions, then one lady. And that was it. They were done. Another thing I noticed about that is when they were calling for the people for the Mlima, I'm going to use the word Mlima, who are going to take up positions in Kenya. I'm sorry to say, they were all coming from the central region. They did not have anyone coming off from another region other than the central region. So those who are going to fight for this party, going from, let's say, from the Dallas area, let me put it like that, I'll be fair. From the Dallas area are going to be people from the mountain going that way. So people from diaspora. But other than that, there were good things being said. I totally agree with some of the policies that they were asking for to be done, and Gachagua said they're going to vouch for an embassy, actually a consular service here in Dallas, Texas, because they say it has a lot of people. Then they say they're also going to try to get in representation of the diaspora for the people in Kenya. So it's like to be represented, like before when they represent you by somebody who's not a diaspora. They want to represent somebody who's from diaspora. And then also find positions to put in there. Now, I had a question. Now, the one question I wanted to tell them is, and I think you guys will agree with me, we have sports. Nobody has talked about sports. You've just seen the other day this lady from Canada, from DRC, who was born in DRC, went to represent Canada. Now, that in itself tells you that the child had a chance to even play for for DRC, but she's a Canadian. She chose the other option. But how many times have we seen Kenyan officials actually looking at sports as a way of bridging the gap? Because to me, and this is, I think I'm going to go slightly away and say this. We have these kids. They swim. My kids swim, right? Great swimmers. They're not going to make it to the Olympic team, but they probably Olympic USA team. But they could probably make it to the Kenyan USA team. But these people are not coming to look for them, or try to look for other kids that are out there, soccer players. And this is one of the ways that people will get that diaspora money to go back, because these kids will have friends who are in the diaspora, and they will be able to kind of bridge the gap, because let's say you play for the national team for soccer, swim, or volleyball, or even wrestle. There's a girl in here in Dallas who's a good wrestler, but she's in college now. These are the sports that if they're going to represent Kenya, they'll have a feel for Kenya and want to invest back home. But these guys are not thinking about that. They're just thinking about milking us, who, ikifika wakati, will be gone. Some will be gone. These kids will just be staying around here and be like, what do I have to go back to Kenya for? So these are some of the things that they need to look at on the other side. But like I said, we only allowed 3 people. I never got a chance to give you my question, and I kind of nilisikia kakitu hapo, but it is what it is. But overall, I'll say this. This sounded like a launch party for a political party. That's what I'm going to say.
Wow. Okay, thank you so much. You said it sounded like a launch party for a political party. That is...
yes.
Yeah, that is... that is quite profound. But thank you so much, Stephen Batty, for that detail that you gave us about the Dallas event, Riggy-G's town hall in courts. Do you think there's an opportunity that, or maybe if I can challenge you, SAMBAZA, to do a local town hall, even if it's with just a few people, whereby not necessarily with a Kenyan politician, but just people from Dallas, whereby you guys can discuss, these are our issues that we want addressed in Kenya immediately and all the way into the upcoming 2027 election. Do you think because we are already thinking of one out here in the DMV, if Dallas does one, if Minneapolis does one, and if all the major hubs do one, and all this information is put together, at least such that when these politicians are coming, they know that they're coming to a place where people actually know what they're looking for. Do you think this is feasible for Dallas? Ama Dallas ni mji wa sherehe?
No, it's very feasible. I mean, you just have to get the right people and who have the right mindset, not the ones who are here, looking for jobs. I'll be kind of frank. Some of them are looking for jobs, but I'll have to highlight there's one lady who talked about something to do with autism, and this one was very profound. She has a child who has autism, but what she has said is, with autism, whatever she has learned, that is what she would like to help people in Kenya with autism. Now, that would be a cause I'd say, like, okay, Sawa, they're trying, to get something to help people out there, and this is a program. You see, something like that, thinking about policies to help people. I think if you get the right mindset of people and sit them down and ask questions, that will be great. Oh, and before I finish, there was one question Riggy-G was asked by this guy. He was asked about the previous elections, the 2020 elections. He was asked if Raila refused the elections and what have you. Then he asked Riggy-G if he's going to accept defeat in the upcoming elections, elected, and he goes to the polls. And that was a good answer. I don't think he answered it well. I kind of think that he kind of dodged it, like he was going to accept or not. But from where I stood or what I heard, he didn't answer that question well.
Okay.
So iko kitu hapo.
Okay, yeah. Sawa.
But on that thing, out of the kamkunji, small kamkunjis, yes. I think it's possible. We can do that and have something going.
Okay. Sambaza, I will leave you with that challenge, and I will follow up, because we're looking to see if we can do our own here, such that we actually throw in that idea of changing formats for when these politicians come, because it's the same format. Clearly, from what you've said, it was the same format, and people are tired of these formats whereby we are enticed to go like it's a town hall, and then when we get there, we find that it's just speeches and more speeches and more speeches, and then 2 or 3 scripted questions, and then things are done, which is not any helpful to us. Asante sana, Sambaza. Thank you so much.